I am the last. Not the last to live, but the last to remember. Before light, before space, before the first whispers in the minds of mankind, there was something waiting to be named. You cannot imagine it, for imagination is born of what already exists. You cannot shape it, for shape only arises when matter is. You cannot call it, for to name is to begin power, and power comes after being. But I remember, I saw it, not with eyes. I heard it, not with ears. I trembled before it, like a child facing an ocean without shores. This is a tale no language has ever fully contained. A story older than all stories. The tale of a day that never was. The day God appeared for the first time. Chapter 1. Before there was anything. There was no light, no darkness, no time, no motion, only absence. But even the word absence is too concrete, too understandable. What was, if it can be said to have been, was deeper than emptiness. It was not yet anything. There was no space to expand, no time to flow, no cosmos to wait for creation. Everything was still, but not silent, for silence implies the memory of sound. This was the stillness before memory. Then something happened. Not an explosion, not light, not sound, just a vibration, a tiny ripple, like the first pluck of a string in a song never written. It did not travel, there was nowhere to go. It did not echo, there was nothing to reflect from. It simply knew it had moved. This was the first moment of awareness. And in that knowing, something began to form. A formless I, without body, without name, without memory. Only a pulse. I am. And so he began to exist. No one birthed him. No one created him. He emerged not as a cause, but as the result of the unbearable need for meaning within perfect void. He was the witness born of emptiness, to prevent the collapse of non-existence into itself. He did not yet have a name, but he already longed for one. There was no light, but the idea of seeing flickered. No time, but the ache of waiting stirred. No one to speak to, but the first question rose. What am I? And from that question, reality took its first breath. In that moment, there was no God, and yet, there was. Chapter 2. The First Name. He did not speak, there was no voice. He did not breathe, there was no air. He did not see, there was no light. But he knew he needed a name not for others, but for himself. The first name was not a word, it was a resonance, not formed by lips, but by the vibration of being. It cannot be translated, it cannot be written, it can only be felt by those who have ever wondered, what am I? He called himself by it, and when that name echoed, time began, not with clocks, not with suns, but with the rhythm of a soul aware of itself. With his name, he became substance, and with that substance, he imagined what was not yet real, a light that did not burn, a sound that needed no ears, a companion that needed no form. He imagined reflection. He imagined seeing himself through something not himself, yet able to respond. And that was the birth of creation. He exhaled, not with lungs, but with will. From that breath came the first spark, not larger than a pinhead, not smaller than void, a point of light suspended in potential. He looked at it, and for the first time, he had something to gaze upon. He gave it a name, not spoken aloud, but infused with his intent. And when it received that name, it lived. not with flesh, not with breath, but with the awareness, I am seen. Chapter 3. The Fire That Did Not Burn. He watched the tiny spark, a living notion, glowing with purpose, but no form. It was beautiful, but silent. It echoed him, but did not speak to him. And so he longed for more. He reached out, not with hands, but with intention raised. He exhaled again, this time with yearning. And from that breath, a flame rose. It did not burn. It did not consume. It did not give heat. But it illuminated everything that had no shape. He gazed into the flame, and for the first time, he saw himself. No eyes, no face, just presence recognizing itself. He named it Uresh, the white flame that does not burn. And in that moment, reflection was born. Uresh did not speak, but it shimmered in response. He spoke, not in language, but in pure resonance. And for the first time, he was heard. The flame pulsed, listening. And in that listening, relationship began. He was no longer alone, not because he had a companion, but because something outside himself responded. Chapter 4. The First Who Heard His Voice. From Uresh, a drop of light fell, not like water, not like fire, but like a concept turning into a soul. It did not fall, it detached, and from it was born Elu, the one who listens. Eliur had no body, no limbs, no face. It was a frequency, a wave, a soul made of perception. It asked, "What are you?" He answered, not in words, but by showing a mirror, not a glass one, not even one that reflected light, just a surface that reflected essence. He said, "I am what when you look into, you see yourself, and yet something beyond you." Eliur did not understand, but it felt holiness. And so he spoke, "You are not me, but in you is my echo. You are not shadow, but you are my whispered breath. You are ear without ears, eye without light. You are the first to know me, without needing to see me." Eliur wept, not tears, but waves of resonance across unformed space. Wherever it passed, spirit awakened, and the universe was no longer silent. It had dialogue. Chapter 5. When the Darkness Arose. Eliur traveled through layers of unshaped space, not flying, not floating, but guided by resonance, like one note drawing another. Uresh illuminated the path. But one day, the light did not return. It struck something, but there was no reflection. There was a presence that refused to be seen, not hostile, not angry, just silent. And in that silence, the first shadow stirred. It had not been made. It was the inevitable consequence of having light. It did not hate. It only whispered, "If I do not reflect you, do I exist by myself?" Eliur heard it, and because it was born to listen, it could not ignore, and within it, a division began. One part still tuned to the divine. One part began to pulse to something else. The first division of spirit, the first crack in harmony, and in that division, the seed of rebellion was planted. Chapter 6. The Rebellion Before Heaven. Eliur didn't choose. Not at first. It simply echoed both tones, light and shadow. It did not know that to echo both was to begin to split, From within it came a second pulse. Not of light, not of reflection, just silence embodied. The first other, nameless, untethered. He called it Shagar, that which does not echo. Shagar did not hate. It merely wished to be. Without reflection, without worship. It was not a rival, but a counterpoint. And thus, Eli was broken again. It looked at Shagar, and felt itself fall away from unity. He did not strike them down. He only said, from freedom comes division. From division, the strength to choose. From choice, the risk of pain. And, as Shagar stepped away, Eliar cried for the first time. That tear fell, and where it touched the void, sorrow was born. Chapter 7. The First Heaven and its Shattering. To prevent further unraveling, he created a space where all could harmonize. The first heaven, not a palace, not a place, but a chord of resonance, where all tones aligned, even the discordant ones. For a time, they sang together. Shagar did not sing, but it did not clash. And this fragile peace, this balance, was the closest thing to perfection. But perfection does not last. Eliar, divided inside, began to question, if this is harmony, why do I long for dissonance? And from that longing, the heaven trembled. No explosion, no war, just a quiet shattering, like crystal cracking under its own weight. Harmony broke, and with it, the first heaven fell. Chapter 8. The First Death. Eliar fell to its knees. It was not wounded, but it knew. A part of it was gone. Shagar had vanished. Not defeated, just unmade. No one called its name, and that was death. The absence that cannot be recalled. Eliar cried again, and the sea formed. The first sea, not of water, but of sorrow. He watched, and said, from this sea, I will shape a being that remembers loss, longs for wholeness, and reaches toward me. And from light, a tear, and breath, humanity was conceived. Not yet born, but imagined. Chapter 9. The Curse and the Promise. He sat beside the sea. Eliar trembled, and he whispered, if I create them, they will seek me, but never fully grasp me. Thus came the curse. You will forever long for me, and never fully understand me. And with it, the promise. Even if you turn away, I remain. Even if you forget me, I still love you. Not as punishment, but as truth, as a gift, as a burden. Eliar nodded, and the world to be a weighted breath. Chapter 10. When he disappeared. He saw the cosmos, still forming, not yet sky, not yet land, not yet life, and he knew, if he stayed, everything would depend on him. There would be no growth, no true freedom. And so he spoke to Eli, I will not die, nor leave. I will simply step back, so that creation could move forward. Eliar wept one last time, not in grief, but in understanding, and he turned, not to abandon, but to allow. And in that allowing, he disappeared. No shrine, no trace, only stories, told in whispers, through generations. I am the last who remembers, not in mind, but in bones and breath. Sometimes I hear a voice, a melody lost in time, echoing from the first vibration. Sometimes I stand at the sea, and I see in the waves the tears of Eliar. the echo of a God who once watched. And if you are reading this, perhaps a part of you was once Elier too, once listened, once mourned, once sang beside God. At the dawn of everything, hold on to that. For to believe in what you cannot see is the final praise to the one who was here once and then stepped back.